And welcome in. The black screen always gets me. I don't know when our intro is going to end, but we are live here, folks. Week 14, the last week before the playoffs. It is finally here. We have been talking about this season. We're reaching that point where we're like, all right, I'm just ready for playoffs. Scoop past all this nonsense. Ready to get those teams in and do it. It is myself and Jeremy. Hashtag Isaac Guerendo. Yes. How you doing, Jeremy?
Yeah, man, we were talking about it just before we started the show. I got some weird affection in the back of my head. I don't know what we're going to do about that, but we're going to see a doctor. Good thing is I live in a country where they don't really believe in antibiotics. So I'm just envisioning a doctor like grabbing my gland and like trying to ease some drainage down the back of my head as forcefully as possible.
Lovely.
And if that sounded gross to you, I don't know what's grosser, that image or the waiver wire this week, but at least we got one guy that maybe we can rely
on. There's stuff on the waiver wire, I will say. I've seen quite a few articles of people listing players that are like 70 and 80% rostered, and I'm like, kick rocks, my friend. What league do you think this is? Is there 5 people in your leagues? Like, come on. So we're switching it up. We're only talking about people under 50%. I'm not even going the bigger league. We're just doing on sleeper leagues, 50% or less, because we're just wasting time talking about those guys. Because as fun as the Cedric Tillmans, all those guys are of the world, they are all rostered in too far amount of leagues. And at this point in your league, if they're available, you know who's available. You know the good players. Like we need to go over that. So let's just go straight and talk about them. Let's talk about San Francisco running back situation. Everyone was excited. I was excited for the Jordan Mason of the world. I was like, yes, my boy's coming back to me. And then, oh, no, IR. And I'm like, God damn it. All right, so Isaac Guerendo, I know everyone's going to say throw all your money at him. I think that's fair. But I think we need to talk about absolutely like how we're going to value him moving forward, because I have a hard time putting him in top 15 running backs. Like I have a difficult time doing that. San Francisco is in shambles right now. Their line's a disaster. They have injuries all over the place. So he's not really much of a pass catcher on top of it too. So really, how does this guy like pay off as a top 15 price that people are kind of rejecting him as? Because I have difficulty seeing that. Where do you kind of rank him moving forward? What's your thought process on Guerendo?
It's really hard, right? Because I'm not even sure there's another running back, another healthy running back on the roster. You got, of course, Kyle Juszczyk. You got, of course, Deebo Samuel. But I'm not, it's Isaac Guerendo and nobody else. Mitchell had surgery on his hamstring a few months ago. There's no way he's going to be ready. Mason, CMC on IR, they're done. So it's the Guerendo show. We see what a capable back in a bad offense can do. We see it with Tony Pollard. We see it with even more so, I'd say, with Rico Dowdle. That's probably a decent comp here. When they get all the volume, they tend to have a good fantasy day, right? The question is how much of that volume is going to lead to fantasy success? And the answer is, well, how many touchdowns do you expect Isaac Guerendo to score on a weekly basis? Now he's playing Chicago, good run D, not a bad run D, good pass, good defense in general, better pass D, I'd say. The Rams, they have a decent front, but they can be beat. Miami has a really good D, and then Detroit. So these are the 4 matchups that you're really going to play Isaac Guerendo. And I got to be honest, I don't love any of them. I'll probably prefer him against the Rams versus anybody else. But the volume could be there. But like you said, they're beating up all over the place. How much is Deebo going to eat? Or Juszczyk for that matter. I mean, Juszczyk could see 8 to 10 carries, some stuff out of the backfield as well in the receiving game. So I don't know. It's really hard. He's a rookie, right? It's really hard. Are they going to rely on him? Maybe. But I want to see it first, and I'm not going to be able to. So why am I going to drop my whole load on Isaac Guerendo when, he's what? A flex for me? I'm hoping he's scoring me 20 points in the flex. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I think it's, as far as upside goes, he probably has one of the best cases. And if you're because like we're talking about starting running back here, so anytime you can get starting running back, I think you should chase it. Now, to your point, there are some good game scripts you've had. Like against Dallas, he went 14 for 85, had a touchdown. Against the Seahawks, he went 10 for 99 because he had that monster play in like the end of the game. So you've kind of seen like the size, speed, and that's the whole thesis with him, and that's why San Francisco drafted him. They're going to do a lot more outside zone runs with him just because he's fast, like a faster version of Mason. He's faster than McCaffrey at this point. Like that's the type of skill set he has, and he fits kind of what they want to do. So yeah, I'm kind of in between. I like him a lot. But there are other guys who are cheaper and they're not going to take all the fab. So if you don't have a lot of money available, like you've already spent your fab, I think there's other guys you could target. This gets into like guys in kind of more uncertain situations. So like once we get Isaac Guerendo, it gets to like the Kimani Vidal, who's owned in like 26%. Sincere McCormick, who's ended 0% of leagues, similar to Guerendo. Like he's not owned anywhere. They put him back on the practice squad, so I'm not sure what they're doing, but I think he's worth at least rostering because he was their best back yesterday, or the last week for the Raiders. Like I think you should target him. We get to the Tank Bigsby's of the world. We get to the Jaleel McLaughlin thing. The issue with McLaughlin is he's on a bye, and there's a ton of teams on bye. There's also like let's just run through the teams on bye so people know it's Buypocalypse Part 2. If everyone's not prepared,
6 teams.
Prepare yourself. And I think this is kind of the thesis of why Guerendo is so important because the Ravens go on a bye. So there goes Derrick Henry. The Broncos go on a bye, and most people aren't starting any Broncos running backs, but people have them. The Texans are on a bye. That's Joe Mixon. Yep. The Colts are on a bye. That's Jonathan Taylor. The Patriots are on a bye. I know Ramondre's been all over the place, but that's Ramondre. And then the Commanders are on a bye. That's Brian Robinson. That's, all those guys. So this week in particular, if you need someone, I think he's your best option for getting production in the running back position, right? So, that I would say outside of that, if I'm looking for production, I'd probably go after McCormick because he was the guy getting all the work. And even against Tampa Bay, against Kansas City, and look bad. And they have Tampa Bay coming up. Atlanta, not bad matchup. So I think if we're not going to get Guerendo, my next recommendation would be McCormick. Is there really anyone else at the running back position you're kind of interested in that catches your attention? Maybe it's McLaughlin on a buy. You get him for cheap because no one's going to target, and then you come back into the playoffs, you have him, or it's, Bigsby, any one of those guys.
Yeah, I probably would. I think you can also make an argument for Chris Rodriguez. We know the situation there. We saw what was going on there, but I kind of prefer Jeremy McNichols over him. But we saw what Chris Rodriguez can do, right? It really depends how they're going to deploy these backs. I am unsure. I will look it up now. How many targets Brian Robinson saw last week? He only had 1 reception. And what they did in that game, the Commanders, we speculated on this and it came to fruition. They moved Terry McLaurin all over the field, right? He was no longer running that Cliff Kingsbury route bush on one side of the field where he's just doing a bunch of this, right? And you saw what that did for Terry McLaurin's production. So I think they continued to do that. That formula worked for them. And then these backs are really lesser involved in the passing game. That kind of sucks. Chris Rodriguez, I'm checking him out. Yeah, he's just not involved in the passing game. So 13 for 94 and a score is nice. But they have the bye, then New Orleans, who's been playing well, Philly, Atlanta and Dallas are nice at the end. But yeah, Chris Rodriguez could be another one who had grab and stash.
Yeah, he's the definite grinder. He's not going to be a pass catcher at all in that offense. And with Eckler out, I think Brian Robinson probably gets more looks in the receiving game than Chris Rodriguez does. So he's going to be the 1B with Rodriguez. Thanks for joining us, Jeffrey. We appreciate you joining us. I guess we have a question here from Jason. We can kind of hit it up right now. Would you drop Braylon Allen for Isaac Guerendo? This person has Breece on their roster already. So would you exchange the high-end handcuff if Breece gets injured for a guy that is stepping into that type of role? So how would you kind of treat the situation in half PPR? Would you keep Braylon Allen or would you chase Isaac Guerendo?
It's really tough because Breece is already a little bit banged up, right? And that could have been the reason why Braylon Allen saw 7 opportunities. He previously hadn't seen that much in the last 2 weeks, and then he's been, I think in the last 6 weeks, he'd only seen that many opportunities twice. So Braylon Allen was used a little bit more, but Miami, Jacksonville, the Rams, and Buffalo, some of those matchups are really sweet for Braylon Allen. Here's what I would do. If you need to get into the playoffs or you really need to improve your playoff standing, I'd go after Guerendo and I would drop Allen. If I can wait and hold it out, I think Allen's upside is much greater. Both of these teams are failing, however. So the more I think of it, I'm going to take the sure thing that is Isaac Guerendo.
Yeah, I think it's particularly because we're right up against the playoffs. You can't really push this thing out further and wait. If you need any type of production at all and you're dealing with this apocalypse we talk about, I would chase Guerendo. We got a good question here from Jeffrey, which we can kind of hit on. Yes, I think Debo becomes more involved in the receiving game. They involve him more. The thing with Debo is he's not been healthy all year. He is still not fully healthy. Now, he went bonkers in the kick returning. This last week, he had over 200 yards of kick returning. That was the one thing. If you're a Scottish Fish Bowl, you know this because he went nuclear and all that fun stuff. But yeah, I think he's going to be more involved in the rushing game because they only have a handful of running backs on the roster right now. They have Juice, and then it's Guerendo, and then they're calling someone like Patrick Taylor up for the practice squad. They're doing something along those lines to have him there. So they're just really down bad, and they need playmakers across the board because their wide receivers are injured. Like you have Kittle, you have Debo, you have Jennings, and then outside of that, it's kind of just like we'll see where it goes from here. So yeah, I think they're going to involve Debo if he's healthy and give him as much. Similar to the 2021 season, I expected that from Debo, where they're going to give him a ton of work all over the place, would be my expectation. I don't know if this comes to fruition, but they definitely need it, man. Their team's just walking nightmare right now.
Trivia question for you, and I agree with you. Let's see. We're going to exclude week 1 because he had a fair amount of carries. What do you think Debo's high in carries is, excluding week 1? And I'm doing that for a purpose, so you can guess.
Yeah, he got a ton of work in that week 1 game. I don't know exactly, but I'd say it's probably in like the range of maybe like 6 in a game. I'm not 100% sure. It's probably in there somewhere.
So he has so week 1 it was 8. So he had a lot of work, 23 yards and a touchdown, all on the ground. Did work through the air as well. Outside of week 1, he's had 2 games with 4 carries, 2 games with 3 carries, 2 games with 2 carries, and a game with 1 carry, and 3 games with 0 carries. So they just haven't been using him because maybe they haven't had to, right? Like I think Elijah Mitchell had a game or 2. Was he ever on the field this year?
I think he's been out the entire year.
Yeah. So we know Mason's been involved. We know Guerendo is involved here and there. McCaffrey came back. They haven't needed Debo. We know that they don't want. We know Debo doesn't want to be used that way. Back in contract negotiations for him, they don't have a choice. So they have to use Debo. They're going to use Kyle Juszczyk, who is a complete zero for fantasy. You just live with whatever touchdowns or whatever he does, and you leave him alone. Right. But yeah, yes, I do. Will he steal the touchdown is the question. Will Juszczyk steal the touchdown?
Possible.
I don't know.
That's the hard part. With these guys like Guerendo, these guys that aren't really going to give you much in the passing game, if they don't get those touchdowns, they really hurt you because so much of their production is counting on that, right? Because you're not getting that out in the passing game. So I'm not saying we shouldn't get Guerendo. We should definitely get Guerendo, but I think we should temper expectations of what to expect from him. All right, we talked about running backs for a good amount of time. If there's anybody else you can't like, just target the high upside handcuff running backs if an injury happens. Stash those guys on your bench because those guys could be the quote unquote league winners, right? Like if Walker goes down, Charbonnet, like one of those guys, like we talk about with Braylon Allen. If you can't get Guerendo, go for Braylon Allen world on the next show since we got dipping out of here. So is what it is. But yeah, that's week 14 waiver wire targets, man. If you can't get Guerendo, go get Elijah Moore. I'm just saying, just make that happen. Go get those guys. Enjoy the week. So this is playoff, folks. Yes, Nick Westbrook-Ikine. Go get a guy that gives you production. Much easier wide receiver to find it than at running back. We all know this, right? So, yeah, that's it. Hopefully, you guys have the best of luck this week. For myself, Jeremy will be doing rankings moving forward. We'll be coming back into the fun rankings, going into that. We'll steamroll over the weekend. We'll talk about the roundtable and then start on Sunday. So, hopefully, y'all can join us there. We appreciate all the time you guys spend on this because you guys make this what it is. So. For the rest of us, fans football use, I'm going to keep talking and we're going to head out. So take care, folks. Enjoy your waivers and go get your guys. See ya.